look pretty much exactly like it did when the Hawaiians got here. No trees, just a couple of shrubs and grasses. Pretty barren.
What about women? You talked about the first and second sons. What about daughters?
They're always just work at the house, basically.
Yeah.
If you're the seventh born son and you didn't have any daughters,
Stay home and wash dishes.
yeah, basically. And if
Oh,
you're the
fun.
seventh son, they raise you as a girl. That's where Mahu comes from. If you had all sons, your seventh son would be raised as a girl to do the housework. So I don't know what they did with the middle sons. Firstborn did whatever his dad did. Second was the warrior, and the seventh was raised as a girl.
But if you're the seventh son of the seventh son, then yeah, you're in trouble.
In trouble.
So coming up, I'm going to show you guys the most exposed part of the trail, Crawler's Ledge. It's about 150 feet off the water.
Oh, yeah.
It's no wider than the cushions you're sitting on at the widest points.
Oh, my.
There's no rope, there's no railing, there's no hiking on risk.
No
the trails, in the winter months, the waves will reach it.
Yeah, I see.
You guys see that line up there on the cliff face, about halfway?
Yeah.
That's it, Crawler's Ledge. It's skinny at the widest point. It might be as wide as these cushions you're sitting on. About 10 inches wide the whole time, 10 to 12 inches of a ledge. You start way off in the trees up there, you switch back your way all the way down, and then you cut across the cliff. If there's big swells in the winter months, they'll reach that section of the trail. But yeah, they don't do any maintenance or nothing, because then they're liable if something falls off.
But the Hawaiians use that. Or
No, the Hawaiians didn't have the trails, only by ocean they traveled. Back in the day, if you were to travel from that valley to this valley, you'd lose your life. Every valley had, the island was shaped into like pie-shaped sections, so every valley, they had their own, I don't know if it was a chief, it's like their own village, it's their own community. But when they threw those spears, like you mentioned earlier, that was safe travel wherever you wanted.
So the Napali Coast Trail is a cattle trail.
Yeah.
They used to run cattle in all these valleys. That's what the trail was made for.
Once the Hawaiians got pushed out of here, they made that trail with dynamite. That trail used to be wide enough to ride horses and cows on. All these valleys were cow pastures. There was no trees, it was all grass. So they had cows in all the valleys. Down when we get to Kauai, I'll show you where they did it. They'd swim the cows offshore and pick them up with a crane into a barge.
Did they trade with each other in these different communities?
Like the first valley, those were the weavers. This was the valley of the warriors. The first valley was the weavers. They made all baskets and floor mats. Then there was the fishing community. They would trade throughout the villages.
So you could leave to trade.
No, they would pull up with a canoe and raise into our basket from the water.
And so in the Hawaiian language, lima is your hand. And ulu is the soil. Whereas the farmers actually lived in the valley. Today all these homes, these are partly the homes down by the water. The farmers live out here. And her house is actually the house on the very left of the greenhouse house, this house. And they're all part of it. So where the last home ends, from that point, the state park all the way down. That's a part of the own property. You guys see the big old valley, the very back of the valley. Where the waterfall is grassy park. Well, that one, that's not it, that waterfall. It's not that one. That's the big valley, Little Lily Falls. You guys probably know that, but the waterfalls are pumping. Yeah, to the Robert's house is like the house right there. My house is right next to hers. Mine's actually the blue tarp up to the tree line, just the left-hand side. We're pretty tight up our waterfalls all the time. And so guys, turn the boat, you can see the whole Napali Coast. There he is. I guess we can go back now. There it is.
There's a river running around the Zuckerberg bought that whole valley.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Thornbird somewhere, a house with maybe the thornbirds.
right there. And the cliff is actually rock outcrop with a plateau. And it's a temple. It's a bunch called a heiau. That particular temple, that was a hula heiau. That should actually practice taught hula was right there at that spot. And you guys know why the Hawaiians did hula dance in the first place? Anybody know? They had no pens, they had no papers, they had no pencils. To record their history and tell their stories, there's all do the dances, the chants, and the minutes of the hula. So if you watch me dance the hula, everything's precise, exact. If you move your hand wrong, maybe you make a misstep, you basically be telling a different story, and you could be changing history. And for that reason, back in the day, the hula was only seen performed by the royalty.
It's one of the reasons the Hawaiians lost almost all of their culture and language, because when the missionaries came, they banned hula. They banned hula, they made them wear clothes, so they lost all of their history. Even today, they'll go back and find a chant that's 1,000 years old and decode it to figure out what they're talking about. Because even if you move your finger a different way, you're changing history, you're telling a different story. So they can decode all those songs by the movements.
But a couple times a year, they come and get the hula festival. It was time of celebration and a big feast. To mark that ceremony, what would happen? The forest group on the cliff face up there, we have these trees that they're called palm trees, red liquid like balsa wood. They get a fire, one of those things, they actually pull them off the cliff face. It's like a torch burning ceremony. So embers from those torches, those spears, be blown down the coastline. They go offshore and down the coastline. So if you're living on the Napali Coast, once you come off the cliff face, that's a free pass. You can PK without losing your life. But the rest of the time, if you didn't see that happening, you'd probably lose your life.
You couldn't just walk from one valley to the next. Everything was different territory. You would lose your life if you went from this valley to that valley without permission.
Where was the heiau?
It's straight in front of you. You can kind of see where the grass is weed-whacked. There's like a small little patch where that little teeny section of the cliff is. It's right there. It's hard to see because of the trees in front of it.
So they have all different types of heiaus for different purposes. That was a hula heiau, but they'd have heiaus for sacrifices, heiaus for the fishermen and so forth. This particular heiau, if you're setting up on that heiau, there's an island off the west side of Kauai called Little Rock. When the sun goes behind Little Rock and you're sitting up on that heiau, that marks summer solstice.
Oh, interesting.
So it serves a dual purpose.
So as we go down, you guys are going to notice these sheer cliffs. The reef stops here. There's only deep water reefs. It's about 20, 30 feet right up to the cliff face. So the reefs protect all the sand and the beaches around the island. You're going to see what would happen if there was no reef. The waves are massive 20, 30, 40-foot waves in the winter months. Go right to the cliffside. That vegetation line is how high the waves reach in the winter months.
Wow.
Some years we get upwards of 50-foot waves or bigger. And we measure waves from the back. So normally anywhere else in the world it'd be a 100-foot wave. Average 20 to 30, so 40 to 60-foot waves almost every single winter. That's a shape of this coastline. It's a massive amount of water. Up there. day hike. This is 2 miles in on the trail on a Kauai beach. If you guys take it down here, you can do an additional 2 miles to the back of the valley. You'll find a massive waterfall with about a living-sized swimming pool underneath it. It's one of the only waterfalls you can actually swim at on the entire island. Well worth the hike, but it does turn that 4-mile round trip into an 8-mile round trip. It's quite wet. If it hasn't been raining, the trail's got to be muddy and slippery. Maybe down here, stay out of the beach, out of the water.